Hey guys, we got some new details about Borderlands 3's Endgame content. The game is not even out yet, but questions about what players can expect from the game after release are constantly being asked, and we finally got one big answer about the Endgame, which is actually what Gearbox is calling all the activities post-Endgame, which is Mayhem Mode. Before I get into that, make sure to follow me on Twitter at Hayder, and let's get right into it. So this news comes from an article written by Metro, and they were able to interview the art director of Borderlands 3, Scott Kester. About halfway through the interview, questions were asked about gaming as a service, and the interviewer asked if any comparisons to Destiny could be made. This transitioned into a question where he asked, quote, "Do you class Borderlands 3 as a game as a service?" To which Scott Kester replied saying, quote, "No. We do plan to support it post-launch, but in the same way as we did before. So if that counts as games as a service, I guess. But some of those other games out there don't have a great endgame. But we believe in the second and third playthrough. We believe in a thing called Mayhem Mode, which drastically tweaks the number of things. How hard do you want the game to be as you play through the second and third time? We have Guardian rank that once you beat the game, there's an entire whole skill system that becomes unlocked after you beat the game. Our endgame is really deep and we want people to keep playing it." End quote. So details for a while now have been coming out about the endgame of Borderlands 3. Gearbox has teased more complex raid bosses with multiple phases. We've already heard about their new badass rank system called Guardian rank that he mentioned before that won't be available until after you beat the game. I'm not sure if they announced how many playthroughs we will get, but in this interview he did say 2 or 3, which lines up with the previous Borderlands games, especially considering the level cap at launch will be 50. But the most interesting detail we got was Mayhem Mode. I don't think Gearbox has directly mentioned this by name up to this point, and with everything Scott tells us, he's very vague about it. He says, quote, "tweaks a number of things," which implies this system will work differently than anything we've seen before. Obviously, we still don't know too many details, and I think this is where the community can really jump in together and start to come up with what we think this Mayhem Mode means and what different difficulties they will add and the tweaks that they will make to make this feel worthwhile and something completely new. And I think there was a reason they aren't just calling this OP levels or a difficulty they've used before. I think they want it to be a new thing in the players' minds, which is why they're calling it Mayhem Mode. It almost sounds like it might just be an additional toggle that when you start the game, similar to OP levels in Borderlands 2, it will give you an option if you want to enable Mayhem Mode. Then once you sign in, on your second playthrough, it will just add probably harder enemies, more health, it will be everything else, but then probably also just other mechanics as well. It will probably make the enemies smarter, enemies have better weapons, so it won't just be health and damage. They'll actually hopefully add mechanics to make it fundamentally harder. Hopefully the way this pays out is with the extra difficulty in enemies and weapons and health. Just with my speculation, it will probably pay out with additional loot and resources as well, so it makes it worthwhile for those endgame players looking for those last pieces of gear or legendaries to play through this mode. And I really could see Mayhem Mode becoming the standard in this game, especially with how strong the players will most likely become after unlocking Guardian ranks, having great gear, and having fully decked out skill trees that work to each person's playstyle. I could see a lot of people going for this extra challenge, and hopefully the challenge isn't just OP levels and just scales up health and damage. Hopefully they do add some new mechanics and some new ways to make the enemies more difficult. Obviously though, the game is still months away, and I bet we will still get more details as the release nears. But that's where I'm going to end this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like and share, subscribe for all things Borderlands, and I will see you guys in the next one.